If you've checked out any episodes of the Liquid Courage Show on YouTube or via our podcast, you've probably asked yourself, what in the hell is this?
So we thought it might be helpful to record a little explainer so you can better understand why we're doing this, which, by the way, John, of all people, why are we doing this?
Well, Ken, there probably isn't a good reason as to why it's us, but we can at least explain what it is and how it came about.
True.
Which, by the way, if you haven't checked out any episodes of the Liquid Courage Show, you'll find links to the YouTube show and our podcast in the description of this episode.
Just don't do that now because we haven't explained yet what the show is.
Great point, Ken. Sorry. So let's explain what it is by telling a little story.
Should I cue the Beastie Boys' Paul Revere?
Paul Revere?
You know, here's a little story I've got to tell.
Good pull, Ken. I wish I had thought of that. In fact, I wish we had the rights to include it. That would have been perfect to include in this video. But you and I definitely shouldn't try to rap it ourselves, so we'll move on. But there is, in fact, a story here.
And I don't know what the situation will be when someone is watching this video, but in terms of the state of the world when we are making it, it all kind of happened because we weren't able to travel to visit one another, right?
Yes. So you're referring to, and I'm actually not going to refer to it by the clinical name. So maybe there's a couple people out there that are John Mulaney fans. So let's just say that we, as in the whole entire world, are currently trying to avoid Tom Jones' What's New Pussycat being played 21 times in a row.
And no one wants that.
That's right. So I'm going to come back to this in a moment, but just know that when I reference Tom Jones' What's New Pussycat being played 21 times in a row, that's just our little code for what we're all going through in the world. In the meantime, let me get back to the story with a little bit of background. Ken and I have been friends since childhood, and we both grew up in the same beach town in California.
Right. Then I relocated my family to Pennsylvania about 20 years ago.
Yes, you did. And so since the relocation, we'll each try to visit one another as often as we can. And this wasn't really planned, but we kind of inadvertently started a tradition where on each visit, one of us would have a bottle of a spirit, and it was usually a bourbon or a whiskey that we wanted the other to try. And if we didn't, we'd stop on the way home from the airport and pick one up.
Exactly. And then we would proceed to relax, pour some bourbon, catch up, usually till 2 or 3 in the morning.
Yes, and then not planned, but inevitably, the conversation would always seem to wind up on a television show that we were both fans of and didn't even know the other was watching.
And those discussions would sometimes even lead us to watching some of the episodes right there as we were enjoying our beverage.
That's right. So we'd watch the episode, we'd talk about them, and then continue to enjoy copious amounts of bourbon.
Which brings us back to Tom Jones.
Yes. So again, we've all been trying to avoid Tom Jones' What's New Pussycat being played 21 times in a row since March.
And it's currently November.
Yes. So put another way, for the last 9 months, we have not been able to visit one another because Tom Jones' What's New Pussycat is playing 21 times in a row everywhere.
Yes, it is. Absolutely everywhere.
So since neither of us could travel, we both decided that we'd get together.
Well, hold on a minute. To be fair, it was more that you decided and roped me into this harebrained plan.
Okay, Ken, fair enough. But you're in it now. So we have decided to get together once a week and do a show where we taste and discuss a spirit, usually a bourbon, and then discuss one episode of a show we both like.
Right. But we aren't just doing a random episode or different shows, right?
Great point. Yes. So we're actually going to start with the pilot of a series and go episode by episode all the way through to the finale. So you're essentially getting 2 parts in every show. We'll always start with a tasting and a discussion of a spirit.
And sometimes we might throw in a beer or a spirit other than a whiskey or a bourbon, right?
Absolutely. But it's always going to be an adult beverage because, let's be honest, that's just more fun. And we're always going to announce what we're going to be drinking the following week at the end of every show in case you want to take the journey with us. And then after the tasting, we'll dive into a discussion of the television episode. And if you happen to be watching the show on YouTube, you'll discover that we publish this in 3 parts. So part 1 being the spirit, usually a bourbon, and then the episode will get covered in parts 2 and 3.
Right. Now, our goal is not just to do one show from beginning to end, but it's going to take us a while to get through the first series that we've chosen. Should we go ahead and share what it is if they don't already know?
Yeah, let's do that. So we have selected, and actually, Ken, pretty sure this is the first series we discussed and bonded over on one of my visits, but it is Kurt Sutter's Sons of Anarchy, which, Ken, there are a total of 92 episodes that we have to cover.
Wow. Now, John, this isn't a new show either.
No, not a new show. But it's a great show, and it is one we're both huge fans of. And although it's been off the air for several years now, the entire series is currently available on Hulu, so it's fairly easy for everyone to find it and follow along.
Which, by the way, you mentioned the series being available on Hulu. We've gotten a fair number of questions about things like, one, is Hulu paying us to promote the show? Or are we being paid to discuss a certain bourbon? Those types of things. Should we answer some of those questions?
Yes, let's. First, Hulu. Please send us a check. We would love to get paid by Hulu. Look, Hulu doesn't know who the hell we are. And we don't know what the hell we're doing. We're literally just doing this entire show as an excuse to add to our bourbon collection. We have zero affiliation with Hulu, Kurt Sutter, or the Sons of Anarchy show. We don't have anyone paying us. Hell, we don't even get free booze. Ken and I choose which bourbon we're going to do each and every week, and then we both go out and buy our own bottles ourselves.
Now, if someone would like to pay us or provide us with free bourbon, we're not opposed to that at all.
Not at all. We 100% welcome payments and free product. And I think this is the key, Ken. If we're ever lucky enough to receive payments to promote a product or even free product, we're always going to be transparent, disclose that.
Right. And we'll also be brutally honest with our review.
Without question. And so to wrap up, we are just 2 guys with no experience or discernible talent doing a weekly show for the sole purpose of having a damn good time.
Yep, that pretty much sums it up.
So we hope we give you an excuse to take a break and enjoy a beverage with us. And we hope we give you a reason to either discover or revisit a great television series.
So if you're watching this on YouTube, please be sure to like the video so more people can discover the show. And if you're listening via our podcast, please give us a 5-star rating and a glowing review.
That's a great point, Ken. And I'm just going to add in here, if you don't want to give us a 5-star rating and a great review, none would be preferable, because we really only want 5-star ratings and glowing reviews. Let's be honest. And regardless of whether you choose to watch or listen, please be sure to subscribe and then join us here each and every week on the Liquid Courage Show. One of us would have a bottle of his spirit, and it was usually a bourbon or a whiskin. Whiskin? What is a whiskin?